Hi, and welcome back to Rick's Room. Now, this is the show where we simulate a lobby or a bar at the end of a long conference day. We've been waiting to visit with certain people all day and we just haven't connected. And now, finally, at the end of the day, they come to us. And I have that kind of a guest today, someone that I would wait long into the night to have a chance to visit with. And we work together in the same industry, but in quite different parts of it. Those of you who know me well know I am public relations, media relations, thought leadership. We focus on the news and getting that out, but there's a whole nother part of our business that they just refer to as MarComm. My guest today knows all about it. Joe Bowerbank. Joe, thanks for being with me.
Thanks
We've
for
only
having
known each other now for what, 25 years,
something
28
like
years,
that.
something
Way
like this.
back when it was an
And I'm
MBA in San Francisco, Moscone
probably San
Center, I
Francisco,
believe.
right? And
Yes,
I'm
sir.
still thrilled to see you every time I do. I want to talk to you about MarComm today, but not right away. First, I want to ask you how you've been, because it's been a little while since we've talked to each other. What's been going on in your world?
It's been a little while. It has, Rick. Thanks for asking me. I'm still here in Orange County, California, Newport Beach. So the weather is candidly a beach day today. I'm probably going to be headed over to the beach after this. But what's been new in my world? Came off MBA Annual, had a great show, met with a lot of mortgage technology startups or mortgage technology companies that were looking to launch a number of different new products and services. And a lot of them are AI based, which we well know there's a lot of communication noise in that process.
Mhm.
So I think I came away from MBA Annual with a kind of a heightened sense of the amount of coordination that marketing communication needs to play a role in with some of these younger companies or companies that just have a whole bunch on their plate with respect to launching new products, new services, new solutions. And you've got to coordinate those launches, those efforts well. And if you don't, it can hurt your brand. And
You're talking about tech
more later,
startups. Yeah, tech startups has been your sweet spot for
it has.
decades, right? Decades. So when you're talking to these guys, I know they don't have a great deal of experience in this, but what are they missing that you really want them to kind of get right?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Rick. And I think it really depends on the type of the organization, the leadership team, and where they're at in with respect to the maturity of their company, certainly, and the maturity of their solution suite. So it could really be all over the board in terms of who's coming up with the messaging, who's coming up with how do you name, say, even just a product suite? How do you arrive at that? How do you arrive at the key messages behind the value prop for each of those solutions? And then how do you keep it consistent? How do you market that via multiple marketing mediums in a consistent, recurring fashion so that eventually it equates to branding? And there's no special equation to that other than defining exactly who that company is from the get-go, what their products and services are about, what their competitors are screaming into the marketplace, and finally, the overall totality of where they're headed in the next 12 months, 18 months, and 24 months. So there's a planning aspect of this that a lot of the executives, they're just running so hard and so fast, Rick, with respect to developing new technology, developing new AI products, developing new ancillary services. And sometimes they get ahead of themselves and don't launch it properly, don't coordinate it properly. And that hurts the sales process, that hurts the marketing process, the branding process. And ultimately, you're doing yourself a disservice for just really not sitting down and thinking long and hard about what each position and key messages should be associated with whatever it is that you're going to announce. I don't care if that's a press release with a solution enhancement, if it's a completely new product launch that requires a full go-to-market strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency. I just can't stress it enough, Rick. I mean,
Yeah,
there's so many companies that lose sight of it, and it's not that hard to do, but it is an effort, and it does require coordination, and it does require both strategy and tactical execution. So
And it often requires people, which a lot of startups don't have. You and I both track venture capitalists because we don't know where the money's flowing into an industry or out, and it matters for our client base on that. I remember reading 2 or 3 years ago, I don't know if you saw it, a chart that showed when to hire whom. When do you hire another engineer? Where do you hire a salesperson? Where do you hire another executive? And it was way down the line before they ever actually hired marketing and public relations people into the team. So, yeah, who do they have doing that work for them?
Right, and that's a good point, Rick. Is that it? It depends on who might be in the account or what kind of. I'll take an example. Let's. This is one perspective client that I'm working with right now. They have a in-house marketing coordinator that has about a year and a half of experience straight out of college, but they
Okay.
are eager to learn. They're coachable, and that is the kind of go-to that someone like myself would need as an outsourced PR and marketing communications
Yeah.
consultant to make things happen internally at that particular company. So I'm working with that individual right now to make sure that we arrive at a branding guide. We define the products, the solutions, because they've had a tendency to change over at this particular company several times, unbeknownst to certain folks. And it's really just that point person there that can manage everything internally for me once we establish a branding guide and really a path forward guide for everybody in that organization to understand what the value proposition is and the proper terminology behind what the company's about, what their products and services are about. They need to know who their key executives are and what they represent. And I think that those things working together will equate to branding sooner than later, but you got to have that coordinated. And if you don't, it does more harm than good, certainly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but that's nice to know that they don't need to hire someone with 50 years of experience day one. They just need to hire somebody that's young and hardworking and wants to learn this. And then a guy like you on the outside. But here's the problem. A lot of guys with your experience, they don't want to work with the startup companies, these young guys. They want to get those big experience. What is it about startup culture? What is it about those people that keeps attracting you?
yeah, no, that's a great question, Rick, and thanks for posing it. My background, just to go back to yesteryear into the '90s, I'm showing my age a little bit, but I was part of the .com. I'm gonna use a little humor here. .com, .bomb, .wrong, .gone, .con. There,
Yep.
many rounds of VC funding, which was really a treat to
Yeah.
to partake in that process. But I really fell in love with launching new companies. And then when I got into the mortgage industry in about 2003, I kind of fell into the startup zone as well. And that's when I met you, Rick, and you were over at Real Estate Technology Insight, I believe at the time. You were the editor for that publication before it came Real Estate Technology News, I think, right?
Yep. Yep.
And that was a classic company that had really started as a PS shop, landed some pretty good sized clients. The developers began to name the solution set and productize it, and they weren't very good, consistent brand names, and there was quite a bit of confusion. So, in right sizing that and getting them on the path to consistent messaging, I got picked up by another mortgage technology provider, which was a competitor in Irvine, California. It was an LOS company by the name of Pertellis.
Sure.
And Pertellis was really in a startup mode itself. They had about, I don't know, I think I was the 13th employee. And by the time I left, there were about 200, about 2.5 years later. So
Yep.
that hyper growth environment and how dynamic it is just a lot of fun for me, Rick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think back to that period just before the subprime thing, so much money was flowing through our industry, so many innovations, so many companies were trying new things. It was an exciting time. I know it didn't end well, but for a while there, it was really exciting to see people push the envelope, try new things. But like anything else, just that much confusion, Joe, and you don't get the buyer or you don't get the investor. So what you're talking about, getting all that messaging right is, God, that's so true. And I've seen it a million times. When you go in now, and again, this is kind of another one of those exciting times. COVID had the big boom in real estate, and then it got really cold for 2 or 3 years. And now I know you've moved beyond mortgage and you do plenty of other things too. But now that the industry in some ways is starting to come back a little bit, it looks like there's some exciting opportunities. So when you go to market, when you go to a show, when you look at the companies out there that are coming up, what are you looking for in your next client? What would you like to kind of help get going?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Is I'll look at really three things, and that's just the organizational structure, their leadership team. Do they have some of the right people in place to truly get it off the ground, or did they get some filler people in? Are they funded? And how mature is that solution suite? Is it vaporware? And that's really hard to ascertain.
Yeah.
Usually I'll gather intel because I've been in this industry for quite some time, but I can usually figure out whether or not they're in their infancy with their products or solution suite, whether or not it's coming along, whether or not it's actually ready to be marketed. And I have no problem with telling a client that you're about ready to market a solution ahead of its time.
Yeah.
There's certain things that clients need to hear that they don't want to hear always hear, and that's my job to coach them through that and arrive at solutions and workarounds to get them there. But I will stop you from launching something prematurely or launching something the wrong way. But my clients know that upon engaging with me. But that is something I'm really just very passionate about, is just building that brand, building that company. And when I remember when I landed at Lone Score after, and I remember seeing you it was a Boston MBA. Remember that 2007, Rick?
Yeah.
And, you just go, that's where you landed after Pertelis. I said, yep.
Yep.
And that was a really small company too. And you know what was a treat about that one is these guys had this SaaS-based, truly a product and pricing engine and a true AUS that would pull parse credit, and you could put overlays on top of your products. You could make adjustments to your price. It was very flexible and configurable. They could have easily competed with the likes of Pertelis, Mindbox, Overture. Do you remember some of these guys back in the day that were selling these rules engine? Commerce Velocity was another one for $500,000 just for the engine, let alone the licensing agreements. And this is a $50,000 AUS. So anyway, I'm going somewhere with this, Rick, that I got in there and I was the only marketing guy they'd ever had, and it was just a lot of fun for me to go. And I knew the space well, so I came from the AUS space, but it was a lot of fun for me to look at their solution set, redefine all their marketing and their positioning right before that MBA annual in 2007, because I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys do not know what they have.
Right.
Because that sophisticated. They had grossly underpriced this AUS. Largely, it was a SaaS-based AUS that was a little ahead of its time and a little hidden gem. Why was it a little hidden gem? They didn't talk about it, right? They had all these big clients, and I got there, and I'm like, holy smokes. And I'm going through a demo of how they configure their rules. And I'm like, this is better than some of the other really expensive companies I was at. So branding a company like that was so much fun for me. And then after that, we sold that to Calix, I decided to go off on my own and be a consultant. And within a month, I had 3 clients. And
well, that's what I was going to say, Joe, is
a story. Right.
First of all, for those of you who viewing that are not in the mortgage industry, AUS is an automated underwriting system. It's very complex. Not many people understand it. What I love about you, Joe, is that you can go in and help them with the MarComm, but you do it from a position of understanding the technology they're trying to sell. Today, we've got a lot of young people, God bless them. I'm glad they're coming into the industry. They don't even know what they're selling, and they're trying to advise people on how to. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. That's how you learn. But it surprises me that it took you so long to become a consultant, given what you know and what you've seen.
I probably should have done it a little bit earlier, Rick, honestly. It was such a fun and such a great move for me. But really, when I get into a new client, I have to understand the technology. I have to write kind of and I think I was sharing this with you earlier, like a little mini MarComm plan that
Mhm.
that defines the positioning, that defines the key messages, that gets into the differentiation of their solution suite as it relates to what their competitors are screaming. And again, I don't care whether the competitors, whether it's true or false. The fact of the matter is they're screaming that message into the marketplace. You have to combat that in some fashion. So there's just all these marketing touch points. And what is a marketing touch point? It's really a marketing medium. It's anytime you're going to touch a prospect or a customer or a partner, that messaging needs to be cohesive, whether that's at a trade show booth, whether that's in advertising, whether that's in a press release, whether that's on a social media post. Just it needs to be consistent, and you will see branding results much quicker than if you're disjointed. And it's not that hard to do. Again, getting a go-to person within the organization, whether or not you have an outsourced consultant, it's not necessary. You could always grab somebody that's a little bit mid-tier, and they could keep the messaging consistency within those four walls under control. It's not to say that it doesn't get away from you sometimes. As organizations grow, your sales force grows. That's your job as the brand ambassador or the marketing manager or the business consultant, whoever's going to be quarterbacking and really owning, making sure that messaging is consistent and people are adhering to.
Yeah.
Usually it's the sales and marketing and customer service folks that need to be on board first, but really anybody that is prospect or customer facing should be singing the same tune.
We've been visiting with Joe Bowerbank. Joe, thanks for being with me.